Okay. All right, first item of business is the approval of we have a meeting on May 22nd, and then we have two subsequent meetings that were budget work sessions, and each of you should have that minutes have been distributed. We'll be looking for a motion to approve those when you see.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Second. Thank you, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, so that this wouldn't come in.
Keep trying now. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes? None. We're approving the minutes. If you've had a chance to look at them, that's the minutes from May 22nd, and we had two subsequent budget work sessions on the 31st and then June 1st. I have a motion and a second. Here to discuss. If not, Commissioner Allen? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, thank you. All right, I don't believe that we have any business involving guest groups or visitors tonight. As far as the chairman's report, there's only a couple items that I had. I wanted to kind of get out front. We're advertising this week in our local paper and online. The transfer station has set aside 2 weeks that we're going to be taking in tires from citizens within the county, part of the tire amnesty, and trying to make an effort to get these tires in the transfer station as opposed to on the side road. The state has granted us $10,000. We'll be performing this on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of June. That's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then the following week as well on the 28th, 29th, and the 30th. I believe that she said they've established a limit of 6. It's for individual drop-offs, not necessarily for businesses, but if you know of a business or if you know of any tires out there, tell them don't get rid of them just yet. Towards the end of that time, if it's where we can, we're probably not turning any of it away as long as we have the money. So,
sure, what were the first 3 dates?
21, 22, 23 June. Okay. And then also just kind of let everybody know our county's it's that time of year where not only are we working through a budget and a few other issues, but we also have our annual audit, which is in progress. Particular importance is our finance director right now is working on closing out 2016 with our auditors, running numbers routinely for 2017, and then she's also assisting with the 2018 budget. So she's a rather busy person these days. Okay. I believe we have any hearings or actions on rezones, special use permits. And with that, I'll open up the floor for statements or remarks from citizens on any agenda item. Those items are 6 through 8 on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll move straight into new business. And that item is to consider a proposal for the preparation of a hazard mitigation strategy. And what was done, and I know there are several commissioners that worked through this or were on the board when this was last accomplished. It's done every 5 years, and it's due for renewal. Purpose of having the hazard mitigation strategy / plan is twofold. First is you want to have that plan in place. It makes sense to talk about how we're going to address certain items. Equally important, though, is to be in compliance with FEMA and GEMA, be eligible for any reimbursement for any money that we might incur as a result of dealing with some sort of a hazard or catastrophic event. What we did this year is because of the scope, the state, when we back up, FEMA actually granted a grant that was basically a 75-25, we had to put 25% matching funds with it. And we went out for bid because based on the last time it was done and based on surrounding counties, this amount usually exceeds our $15,000 threshold. And interestingly enough, there were no bids submitted, which is interesting because again, we had almost entered into an arrangement with the Regional Commission to assist, and they were the ones that performed this 5 years ago. We verified it was actually in the newspaper, it was online, and the effort was made to actually post that and make it available. Not receiving any, the requirement at that point though was to actually make contact and have a vendor provide a plan. And we went out and I asked our our EMA director to go through the state EMA director to see, if there was any guidance, any leads out there. He did make contact, and what you have in front of you is a proposal from a vendor. And what I'd like to do is, at this point, is I know you have a copy of that in front of you. The only part of it that you don't have that was included, and it was just in the interest of Paperwork Reduction Act, but there were a number of references listed at the end of it. And I have those in all my copies for anybody that cares, but there are easily 15 to 20 counties, many in our bordering or neighboring counties, to include Athens, Clark, Newton, Union, Walton, Hart County, Banks, again, just a list here that also have used this firm. I'm going to ask, I don't know if you have any questions, but I wanted to make our director, Bobby Smith, available. If anybody has questions, he's actually the one that is trying to work this, but what we'll need to do is have a vote on the expenditure, and he'll share with you how they've broken down the cost of this as well.
So what we've done talking to this company, actually they give us the state lots for, let me get to it. I believe it's $21,000 is what the grant that they allot for us. Our portion is 25%, like Chairman said. So with this company, she actually has never had a county that's had to pay out of pocket her portion or our portion. So what they do is they're able to use our salaries, our time, and we may end up actually getting a couple of you guys to come out to the meetings just so we can count that towards our overall goal. So,
and that's in kind.
Right.
That's in kind service. Right.
But they have, I've talked to numerous EMA directors in our region, and they all just rave over this company and their work. So.
Well, by the name of the company, that's what they do.
It is, yeah. And I don't know if you've got her bio, but it's pretty impressive.
So the original grant was for $28,000. Again, $21,000 reimbursable if it reaches that threshold. And what she's offering is that our 25% match can be largely provided within kind effort.
That's right. And she actually, under that $21,000, she actually quoted us at $19,200. So she was under what Regional Commission would have done it for. We paid 25% for $19,200. That's right. That's right. $4,800.
No, actually, we were paying. That represents 75%. The other 25%, she has broken down if we will participate, largely through meetings and what have you. The time based on individuals that show up and everything can be used towards that effort. And there is a schedule of completion. I think Bob, you provided that as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or the stages, right. So there are multiple steps in this, and it's over the course of those events that our in-kind contribution would be satisfied.
I want to make a motion.
I'm sorry.
That we,
We're going in our last question.
okay, that we approve the proposal for preparation of the hazard mitigation strategy.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the preparation of hazard mitigation strategy. Is there a second?
I'll second, Chairman.
I have a second. Okay, now for discussion, sir.
Ultimately, we could, wind up with $7,000 in this, ultimately.
At worst case, if everything's filtered, that is correct. That is correct.
But no more than that.
No more than that. Is there any other discussion or questions for?
Let me ask one more.
Please. Okay.
Who comes to the meetings and gets, thank you for attending giveaways?
Anybody that we can get to come. I think that's their goal, is to try to get it. Huh?
When you give, says $75 and $100 giveaways each meeting, is that?
Yeah, so what they do,
Meeting?
the company provides that. What they do is, it's not bribing, but trying to encourage people to participate, mayors, commissioners, anybody that we can get to come and be a part of it, that could possibly be affected by a hazard or a catastrophe in the county, so.
But that's $75 to $100 overall for me.
And that's
Not per person.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
how many meetings would that be?
There's several throughout the course of the,
I think it's listed in there. There are several, like she's got milestones that are listed there, and there's several meetings that are broken out.
So estimate how many would that be? Just that.
5.
So possibly $500.
And
That would be the company's portion. That wouldn't come from us. That would be out of her pay.
They have suggested that as a way to increase the
Community engagement.
Right.
Community.
Community engagement. So,
I think I've come.
any further discussion on this? And we did ask, and he has performed, our county attorney has actually had a chance to look over the actual contract and did not have any issues with the way it was presented. No other discussion. Okay, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
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 Yes. There you go.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Sean. All right. Okay, next item on our list, let's take a look, let me take a little explaining here. I think back in November of last year, as a newly elected candidate for the position, I actually attended a meeting with Chairman Dove, and it had to do with T-Splosh. This was presented by the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission. This was presented a few years ago and was voted down, was not passed. This is a regional T-Splosh, and for the state of Georgia, what the state legislature has tried to do is to encourage regions. Our region includes 12 different counties, and they give priority, if you will, certainly preference to a regional plan as opposed to a single county levying a transportation special purpose local option sales and use tax. So what we're talking about tonight then is, in this year, in November, we have the opportunity, if the board so chooses, to have Madison County included as one of the 12 counties that this is offered to or pertains to. If a total of 7 of those 12 counties do the same and approve the resolution, then this would be placed on the ballot for all 12 counties in November. If there's a county that has opted to also include a single county. In other words, they didn't want to do a regional, but they do want to do a single county. They can still put it on their ballot. But if the total vote count is in favor of the regional vote, then the single county would be null and void. It would not be considered. So what does this mean in Madison County? We're along 12 counties. Our tax base is perhaps towards the lower end of the 12 counties. You have Athens, Clark County, you have Oconee, you have Newton, you have several larger counties. And collectively, that sales tax throughout those 12 counties would be split. Initially, you'd have roughly a quarter of it would be taken off the top, split between the 12 counties. That alone would be more than Madison County sees in several years total. It is a 10-year T-SPLOST, whereas a single county is a 5-year. Once that is approved or voted in, then none of the other counties would be able to apply for a single county T-SPLOST. It is based on sales tax. I went and looked today at the Athens Clark County site. They have information that they put out there for a single county option. This is what they're choosing to do, is go single county. So they're not in favor of a regional T-SPLOST, obviously. If passed in their county, but just to give you an idea of magnitude though, they projected that in Athens, Clark County, they have 2 municipalities that would affect how much they can collect, either a 1 cent additional sales tax, or it would be roughly 0.75 cents if Bogart and or Winterville do not choose to go in with them. But they stand to collect 1 cent. Total money to them, if they collect the 1 cent T-SPLOST, is approximately $100 million. If they go to 3/4 of a cent, that's $75 million. That's Clark County alone. So what I'm suggesting is, I think we all agree that a lot of Madison County tax dollars get spent in Clark County. Certainly nothing disparaging regarding Clark County. It's just there's a lot of money going out of the county. Wouldn't bother me if some of that came into the county from Clark County or from Oconee. And this is a more equitable way, and this is the state's desire to be able to share that. I mentioned to you that the quarter of that tax revenue collected would be split 12 ways. They also have a list of projects. Madison County on the last one had 4 road projects. Some of them have already been addressed and taken up by the state since this did not pass last time. But there's still the opportunity to have road projects on a list that would be covered under this T-SPLOST in addition to that collection. So again, it's a lot of information and everything. The point here is it's a one-shot deal. If this does not pass and a single county option is adopted by a different county, there won't be a regional T-SPLOST available for at least 5 years. Now, then that 5 years, if any other county does it, then it's a moving window at that point. And the likelihood is that this would not be available to Madison County in the future. So it's on the agenda tonight for consideration. Perhaps the difficult part of this is not in what Madison County could receive from it, but it's going to come on the heels of our recent assessments and our property tax. And after we determine the budget, any consideration regarding millage, this would then follow that. So I'm not saying and I'm not suggesting that this is a sales tax, though, is the point I want to make. So it's for people that choose to buy, it's It's not levied on any one person in particular. It is a sales tax. So, again, just for consideration, I wanted to put that out there. And failing to put it on, or to pass a resolution, most likely the timeline will be overcome by events. In other words, we won't have the opportunity to vote on this a month from now because there's a protocol and a list of required events that have to take place. So unfortunately we're within the last few weeks of being able to even consider this. I just wanted everybody to have the opportunity to hear and have an opportunity to vote on it and to understand the actual money that could be coming to Madison County as a result of this. And I wish I could provide you what Clark County has done by way of a total number, but I have no idea what that is. I do know that I believe on the last T-SPLOST that was considered, I believe the number was in the neighborhood of about $4 million a year. And that was no projects or anything, that was just tax revenue that was provided to the county or projected to come to our county annually. So I put it out there. I don't know. The item is to consider approving a resolution to initiate placing a regional T-SPLOST on the ballot in November. It's still dependent on 6 other counties doing it, but this is a required step to even be considered on that. So I'll leave it at that if there's a motion.
So let me ask you a question, John. You said a regional T-SPLOST would be split. How do they determine that, by population or?
They do, and I have information on this, and it's and it gets rather involved in their computations and everything. It is based on a number of factors, and I failed to mention one other before I go back to that. This regional T-SPLOST lowers our LMIG contribution from 30% to 10%.
To 10%?
10%. So our matching funds would be 10% as opposed to 30% on
We still get the same amount of T-SPLOST from the state, except our matching fund would be 10 rather than 30. Is that what you said?
It does not in any way impact the total amount that state grants through LMIG. It will have no impact on that at all, except that it reduces our matching requirement to 10% as opposed to 30. That's one of the ancillary benefits of that. Back to the actual divvying up the total projected sales tax. Again, 25% is off the top. There are statewide projects that are voted on, and a certain portion would go toward that. And then there are projects within the region that are to be considered, and that's how they determine that.
And all this money stays in our region. It doesn't go outside the region. So Atlanta's not getting that money and things like that.
Not at all. Not at all. And I say, when I say a certain portion are for statewide approved, they're statewide approved in our region, though, in our 12-county region.
And then the money we get, we're going to put in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this time, if we do this, now I'm going to fix and make a motion to do it. This time, let me say, let's educate the public a little bit.
I agree.
It's a good thing, Zach. It's a good thing.
No, it is, and that is the obstacle. It's 100% the reason that there's and again, it's a tax. Make no mistake about it. But it's a selective tax. You choose to shop or what have you. But it's the benefit that we stand to gain.
Homeowners and property owners need to really take a look at this, because if they don't get it this way, they're going to have to come out of pocket to get it over, because we have needs, we have road needs, and it's expensive to do roads. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, we do this resolution.
I have a motion.
I'll second, Chair.
And I have a second to consider, to approve the resolution to initiate placing a regional T-SPLOST on the voters' ballot. You each have a copy that the county attorney has drafted, and with your concurrence, that's what that's what we'll be signing. I'll forward that to the regional commission, and then we'll see how the other counties. To my knowledge, right now, there are at least 3 or 4 that have already committed to doing this.
So in other words, if we get 7 counties committed in that, Clark has to be part of it.
They did, it will go out on.
They're not gonna be part of it.
Well, and Clark County almost guaranteed will have 2 T-SPLOST referendums on the ballot. They're gonna do a single county, assuming or hoping perhaps that the regional does not pass.
But the regional passes, single is no.
That is a true statement. The vote across 12 counties is not the majority of the counties, it is a majority vote. Total number of votes cast, 1 vote more than to the negative will guarantee passage of that, though.
Chairman, if I may, since we mentioned, I think in 2012, they were saying that we were ranked 4th out of the 12 counties, not because of our population, because of the road miles. We have so many road miles.
And that is part
of the formula, so I think we shouldn't be too far. And so, golly, it should be life-changing for us. So.
And it is road miles both. It's your road digest, both paved and unpaved.
Well, those 12 counties, Richmond has got some money.
There's definitely money to be gained here, so any other discussion with this? Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, very good.
Awesome.
All right. Next item is to consider adopting a resolution to rescind Section 6 of related laws. This was taken up at our last meeting, and it talked about being able to resolve this issue through home rule. The vote was taken on May 22nd. Minutes were approved tonight. That was the first adoption of this. You each have a copy of both the resolution and the explanation of it just behind that. And it has been advertised already 3 times. We've met the public notice requirement on that. So what we're asking for tonight is a final adoption, adopting the resolution to rescind Section 6 of our related laws. So moved, Chairman. I have a motion to adopt it. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none. Let's go to vote. Commissioner Pepple.
Yes.
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 All right.
And just to remind myself, if more than anything else, I will need to get a copy of that tomorrow and send it to the Secretary of State. That's a done thing now. I just have to send it to the Secretary of State, and it goes in the book just as if the General Assembly had passed it.
Your pay raise. All right. I'm sorry. I'm not going to add any other expense right now. Next item is roads update.
Madam Chair.
No, it's a call.
And you? No. Okay. Any other matter? I'm not aware of any. All right. Anybody present tonight, so we take statements, remarks from citizens. It doesn't have to be about an agenda item. Anything on your mind?
Larry Stewart, 126 Cecil Stewart Road, Danielsville, Georgia. Good evening, Commissioners, Chairman.
Larry,
Court.
speak up just a little bit.
There's no mic here, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no mic.
Everybody can hear better than I can.
Okay, well, I'm wearing my hearing aids too, so anyway. What I want to talk to you tonight about is the current situation with the property valuations. I hear there's quite a bit of controversy going on out there. I don't know, I've heard some. Having been a former member of the Board of Assessors in this county, I understand this situation a little better than others. First off, let me try to sort of give you a little education here on this. I don't know how many of you are familiar with property record cards. I don't know how many of you are familiar with cost schedules, depreciation schedules, any of this kind of stuff. But what's happened is the cost schedules were updated this year. And therefore, that has increased the overall values of replacement cost on improvements. This is normally done, recommended by the state, to be done once every 3 years. This is the first time in 10 years this has been done in this county. The last time this was done was 2007, when I was a member of the Board of Assessors. I don't have an issue in defense of the appraisal staff. I've looked at values, and I don't really have a problem so much with the values, with the cost tables. What I do have is a significant problem with what they call the fiscal depreciation table. Normally, when you run one, you run the other. And the fiscal depreciation table basically it's just like it sounds. It's a table in the system that takes a certain percentage off the cost factor. Therefore, an older home, well, it's really kind of like you think of, you buy a car. You go home with it, it's depreciated. And it depreciates very rapidly in the early part of its life. The older it gets, the slower the value depreciates. Same way with the houses, same way with this. So this wasn't done. It should have been done. Now, you can talk to the Department of Revenue, you can talk to assessors or appraisers in the surrounding counties. I've already done this. I'm not asking them to take my word for this. But anyway, what has happened is that the taxpayer has had the burden put on them by having their cost updated, and then not giving them the benefit that they were due by having their correct depreciation taken off of that, thereby giving them their fair market value that they're taxed on. In full disclosure, you will never find where it says this is mandatory. You will never find where it says this is required. But you will find that everybody you talk to will tell you that when you do one, you should do the other. It's customary. I'll use that word. Wherever you do the depreciation table, wherever it comes from, it should be the same source that the cost table came from. You shouldn't, by the way, these tables, you can get them from the state, you can do them yourself, the county can do them themselves, or there's a source called Marshall and Swift. It's basically the Bible of the appraisal business. This county has them, every county does. So wherever you do one table, you should pick the other, the same from that same source, because otherwise you've got apples to apples, or apples to oranges, really. You're not making a fair comparison. Now here's the problem. It really is a serious situation, because I can't stress enough that the taxpayer has had their property values increased and not given the benefit of depreciation. I know I'm repeating myself, but that is something you really need to understand. How do you correct the problem? Well, you're not going to want to hear this, but the only way to fairly correct the problem is that the depreciation schedule should be run and assessment notices should be remailed. Some of the benefits really of doing that is you should have less appeals. And of the appeals you have, there should be more of them that would be less successful. Because what you have here is just going to open everything up if, people know about this. Plus, you'd have a more uniform tax basis. Because if you start having a lot of appeals, these people start winning. Some people are going to have theirs lowered. Others are not. Others are not going to know about it. They're not going to appeal. you've got a mess. You've got values that are just not uniform, and they're supposed to be. I tried to talk to the tax assessor's office about this. And when I went down and got my property record card, and by the way, this is what one looks like. And you can't get this on Q Public. You can't get it from any other source. You go down there, they'll print you out one. It shows all your improvements plus your land. That's the only really way you can look at it and look at your depreciation and get a fair picture of what you're looking at. When I went in and asked for mine, I asked, because I had previous years with me, and the depreciation hadn't changed. So don't let somebody tell you that they did do it, because I got proof right here that it hasn't been done. When I asked why it wasn't done, I wasn't given a straight answer. I asked for the chief appraiser to call me back. I wanted to know about the depreciation table. That's been a week, over a week. I'm still waiting for that phone call. I don't know what you would, I don't know what your interest is and what you'd like to do about this, but time is short because they only have till the 3rd of July. And you won't meet again until the end of this month. All I can say is, I'm going to the assessors meeting Thursday. I'm going to talk to them just like I'm talking to y'all now. Because this is something that really, really needs to be done. And time is short. Just like the chairman said a while ago about the T-spot. Time is short. And all I can say is, if it's not done, I would encourage every taxpayer in this county to appeal, because everyone with improvements has had an injustice done to them. And what I'm seeing is about a 20-21% increase. And I'll close by telling you, like one of my instructors that I had great respect for when I was going to these certification classes for the DOR. And he told us when we came in his class, he said, I'm going to tell you about all this today, just like I've told y'all. He says, you go back to your respective counties and you can do with it whatever you will. But from this day forth, you will never be able to say you didn't know. Your innocence is lost because now you've been told. So, if y'all would like to ask me any questions, I'm happy to answer anything you got. Otherwise, I'm done.
Does the state recommend that every 3 years, or they just say it's okay if you do it?
They recommend it at least every 3 years.
Now, why wouldn't the appraiser, if it's recommended every 3 years, why would he wait 10 years to do it? I
have no idea. Because what you end up with is like what you have this year. You kind of got a sticker shock situation going on. Because, values are going to go up. And taxes are going to go up. That's kind of a fact of life. And if you do it, some counties do this every year. But if you do it at least every 3 years, it helps that shock factor.
It'd be a small hit rather than wait 10 years and get a big hit.
But either way, the part I keep harping on is, when you do one, you're supposed to do the other. There again, there's still going to be a tax increase or a value increase, because y'all set the millage rate. But there's still going to be a value increase. You can't avoid that. And like I said, I don't have great issue with that. But if you're going to do that, at least soften the blow and give the property owner the benefit of the depreciation they deserve.
So, just so I'm clear, so the net effect over 10 years perhaps may have been the same, but it would have just been spread out. That's the...
Well, yeah.
Well, and I'm like I said, I think we all, if you live in the county, everybody received an assessment, so part of our part in this is to make sure that we find out, everything, and not, I appreciate information. I want to make sure, and I hope you appreciate too, that I want it from both sides.
Mr. Chairman, I encourage you to verify everything that I just told you. And I'll be happy, I know you can do it, but I'll be happy to give you names and numbers of individuals down at the BOR in Atlanta, some suggestions on people to contact in surrounding counties. I know you want to talk to the staff here. I by no means want any of y'all to take my word for what I just told y'all, because if you check it out, you will find out. But don't get snowed. Know what you're looking for and know what you're being told. Thank you.
Appreciate it,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. For starters, I'd like to acknowledge and appreciate the comments. I don't know this gentleman, but I'm here for some of the same concerns.
Can I get your name real quick?
My name is John McDowell. I live in Lake Deerfield, specifically on Lake Deerfield Road, and have been in front of the commission on 4 or 5 occasions in the last 9 years, which equals the number of years that I've been a property owner in Madison County. And my prior visits here and interest in coming before the commission is to make a case and plead the case that the road we live on in Lake Deerfield is a gravel/dirt road, and we have approached, as I say, numerous occasions to try and establish the fact that the tax base of the neighbors and the property owners in Lake Deerfield, I think it supports some consideration. We've written letters, and but that aside, I want to go back to the comments that have been made about the tax assessment. As I mentioned, I've been here for 9 years. And 3 years ago, my property assessment, 3 years ago in May, the same tax assessors and the same appraisers, my notice indicated that the value of my property went up 50%. My estimated taxes went up 50%. I appealed, as you might imagine, and was successful in the appeal. And even though the appeal is confined to certain categories, the individual that appeals has to establish an alternate evaluation and market value for their property. So 3 years ago, in lieu of 50%, I established a value of 17% increase over the prior year. That's what was accepted in the appeal process. This year, I've again gotten notice from the same tax assessors that the value of my property has gone up 40 more percent. 40. So the last, in 3 years plus, one time 50%, now 40%. And that 40% in market value, that's 40% in estimated taxes. So I can't emphasize enough, as this commission just voted on a tax, and reference was made to educating the public in November to try to support and garner votes for this tax. Reference was also made to millage rates. And millage rates obviously come subsequent to the final market value being established on a property. And I don't know what the connection was, Mr. Chairman, when you made the reference to millage rates are also coming at the same time that the prospective vote would come, or the tax, the sales tax. But I don't know, I would think that this commission sets the millage rates before a vote is made, and therefore I don't know how the two could be connected. In other words, as a property owner that has concern, again, for another 40% increase in tax, which putting dollars and cents to a percentages sometimes don't tell the whole story. If I apply a dollar figure to it, they want more than $1,000 more out of me in taxes. I'm already in the upper echelon of a taxpayer in this county, and they want 40% more. So while I'm certainly interested in this tax, and I'm certainly interested in supporting this tax to support the county, there's absolutely nothing in it for a property owner that, short of trying to control a millage rate, there's certainly nothing in it as far as roads. I'm still, on a dirt road. I've never gotten any indication that, that's in the near, much less the distant, or future. So I just want to close by again, re-emphasizing what this gentleman said. I did not know about the depreciation. What I do know is 40%. What I do know is I again have to appeal. I'm again confined to certain categories. I went down, just like this gentleman did, and talked to the assessor's office. This time around, it was not, I asked for the comparisons, which I used last year. There's no comparisons to give you, Mr. McDowell, because the reason your tax, your market value went up in your home is because we changed what he said the building schedule was. This gentleman called it the cost schedule. The question was, well, it hasn't been done in 10 years. Why wasn't it done more frequently? What I was told last week was that the index that the state wants on this quote-unquote cost schedule is to range between 38 and 40, whatever that is. And honestly, the explanation was not in lay terms, and I've got to do a lot of homework before the appeal process to understand exactly how they went from a 37 point something and took it up to 40. When I said, if the range that the state wants is between 38 and 40, and this office elected to take it up to 40, the maximum range that the state wants, what was the driver behind that? What's the catalyst behind that? Why wouldn't you take it to 38? Why would you hit, just speed by 38, 39, and let's go to the maximum? Can't be more than 40, so why don't we just take it up to 40? And add in the depreciation, and I hope you're getting the impression that there's a lot of property owners out here who are very upset that we're having to go through this again, and we're getting hit with some pretty significant tax increase estimates. So whatever you can do to weigh in on that, as an individual who's gone through this now twice in the last 3 years, I would certainly, value anything you can do to try and temper, this ongoing effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I answer a question he had?
Can you do it real brief?
Sure. What he's referring to is actually 36 to 40. That's a range the state sets, and the county has to meet that. If you fall below the 36, they start rejecting your digest, and they start giving you fines and stuff like that. 40 is considered perfection. Not too many counties hit 40 too often much because, once again, we were told during our classes that if you are a county that's consistently hitting the 40, you're probably manipulating your books. Most counties fall in a 37, 38 range, sometimes 39, but that's a typical range for most counties. If you're hitting 37, 38, you're doing a pretty good job. So what he was referring to, and I was told the same thing, that Madison County was falling out of the range. So I just let you know that.
And not to belabor it, if I can add one more thing. Your Board of Education gets hit if you don't hit at least 38 on their 5 mil share.
Okay, so I'm not aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just offer one further comment. If I said anything that suggested that the vote had to wait till that piece block, that was not my intent. They're two separate items, nothing related at all on that. So, is there anybody else that would like to make a statement tonight? Anybody at all? All right. Do we need to? Anything on executive session?
I don't have anything on this.
Does anybody else have anything? All that's left to do is adjourn. I have a motion to adjourn. I have a motion, but a second. I have a second. Commissioner Isco, you're actually up. Vote. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. All right.